So a couple of days ago, we did get a Pokemon trademark for something called Pokemon Spot. Now, we thought that was going to be something huge, and it did turn out to be something, but it wasn't necessarily anything that crazy, right? It eventually ended up being some sort of Pokemon arcade game exclusive to China, which is really cool, but we were all hoping for something better. Through this Pokemon Spot trademark, though, we did actually find out about the existence of some sort of leaked project, and this should be a bigger project for Pokemon and the 30th anniversary. It is currently known as P30. I really hope that this will be a huge project slash new game for Pokemon. This Pokemon P30 or Project 30 or like Pokemon 30, whatever the heck the P stands for, obviously is referencing the 30th anniversary because we are currently in the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. To me, it's fascinating that we actually had this Pokemon Spot trademark reveal another Pokemon project that we had no idea about. So Project P30 is not Pokemon Spot. Pokemon Spot is something completely different. So today, let's cover everything about this. What could this Project P30 actually be? Could it be a classic collection? Could it be some sort of other homage to all the generations of Pokemon? We just got so much to cover today. So in the comments, let me know what you think this Project P30 could actually mean. Like, what do you think that this is going to be for the 30th anniversary? And right before we do hop into everything today, I would greatly appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notifications to always reach our goal of 45,000 subscribers. Let's see if we get today's sub goal of 15 subscribers. Let's hop right into it now. Alright, so we got Source of Art, one of the goats in the Pokemon community, saying Pokemon Spot may have just been an arcade game, but it ended up giving us a new leaked project. The P30 project that Omari is overseeing could be a separate project that still exists, and P30 sounds like it's Project or Pokemon 30. It could be a surprise 30th anniversary game. And the reason that we know of this existence of Project P30 or P30, whatever you want to call it, is because Ballguy actually did respond to this original Pokemon Spot trademark right here, and he replied saying, if anyone who finds this has a shred of care about it, I believe this project is known as P30. Omari had some sort of overseeing roles in its development as well. And Omari has worked on a lot of Pokemon games. He's been the director of many Pokemon games, producer, just been involved with many mainline Pokemon games. Now that's the most important thing I want to point out right here, is that all these games right here, they are mainline Pokemon games. Like most of these being brand new generations, a couple remakes in there, you know, Legends games. So we are all hoping that this Project P30 turns out to be something a lot bigger than we are thinking. So obviously, right off the bat, I'm thinking it could still be a classic game or some sort of classic collection. And I know this is something that I yap about a lot, and a lot of other people talk about it all the time as well, but it's because it's a huge topic and we all want it so bad. Guys, what is a Pokemon game that you would want to have ported over to the Switch and the Switch 2? And basically what I mean by this is more specifically, I guess, the older gens, but honestly anything like 3DS and prior. I personally really want Gen 2 and 3 to be brought over, and like we've said before, it's a 30th anniversary. A lot of people think it is an underwhelming 30th anniversary, and so that is kind of another reason why a lot of people do think this could be some sort of classic collection or even, you know, Gen 3 games. We've talked about this a lot, but there is a real chance and a real possibility that the Generation 3 Pokemon games ported over to the Switch and the Switch 2. We've had countless hints. We've also just had it in the Fire Red Leaf Green code for the Switch ports of those games. So, and they're doing a lot of Rayquaza promotions right now, and there are things that they have yet to announce as far as, you know, Gen 3 slash specifically Rayquaza goes. So that's why, you know, Gen 3 ports do make a lot of sense, but of course a true classic collection with Gen 1, 2, and 3 would be awesome. And I know Fire Red Leaf Green were ported over, but imagine we did just get a classic collection with generations 1, 2, and 3, but it's just the original games. That would just quite literally be like the original Gen 1 games. You know, Fire Red Leaf Green are remakes of Gen 1, and then just Gold and Silver, and then Ruby and Sapphire, and hopefully Emerald and Crystal. I would really hope third versions of these games would actually be ported over as well, but I think a physical copy of a classic collection Pokemon game is what we all really want, and that's got to be like the top of my wish list right there. Now, I know that is a stretch, but I had to bring that up because of the simple fact that the name is P30 for Project 30, 30th anniversary, and the fact that it's something that Omari is overseeing, so it's probably going to be a game. It doesn't have to be a game. Seems like it is going to be a game. Something that I was thinking about was like some sort of new battle Pokemon game. I was like, oh wait, we have Champions. I don't know what it is with my mind, bro. I keep forgetting that Pokemon Champions is already out. I don't know why, but this is not related to Pokemon Champions. Pokemon Champions had a different code name. And the reason why I'm bringing that game up is because, I mean, eventually that game will introduce all of the past Battle Evolution gimmicks. So, like, in a way, you could say that is some sort of homage to a lot of the past Pokemon games as a whole. Another thing that I had in mind was the Pokemon MMO. So we do have one officially leaked. Like, it is in the Terra League. There is an MMO that is going to drop, which is basically a multiplayer-focused game where it's like you're seeing a bunch of other players in real time on the same map as you. Now, this would be a crazy 30th anniversary game, but the leaks are saying that this game is going to be maybe more so like 2029, 2030, 2031, kind of just in those general years because everything is being delayed right now. So we're not exactly sure when the MMO is going to come out. The last thing we've heard about that is that it is still being worked on. They are still developing it. So as of right now, that game is still happening. It could always be canceled, and I really hope it doesn't get canceled. But that game also has a different code name. It is not under like P30 or like any sort of 30th anniversary, so it's probably not going to be the MMO. Another thing I want to bring up is that code names can change. So like it could be the MMO. Maybe they just kind of like redid it and changed the name to P30, even though it's not really dropping in the 30th anniversary. It's a very Nintendo thing to not drop something on the anniversary, like Zelda anniversaries, Mario anniversaries, Pokemon anniversaries, you know, things not actually dropping on those years just because things get delayed all the time. I was also wondering if it could be some sort of new Legends game, but once again, the current Legends game, Legends Galar, does exist separately. It has a separate code name, so I don't think it's anything to do with a Legends game. But what if it's like a Pokemon Maker? Like, you know, Super Mario, like Mario Maker, a lot of people want a Pokemon Maker game. That would be crazy, and I feel like that could be somewhat of an easy-ish game for them to actually push out for the 30th anniversary. Now, this would be a game where we could like build custom gyms, design our own routes, custom trainer battles, you know, different maps we could share and, you know, create or just play other people's maps. This would be really cool, and I would be down for that. And we do have the Terra Leak, right? And everything in the Terra Leak is accurate, but the thing is, there are things that are aside from the Terra Leak. There are probably just a ton of brand new games or titles or whatever, or just anything that Pokemon is working on that is not in the Terra Leak. But of course, as you guys all know, if you've been following the channel all the leaked recently, we are getting more internal leaks. It's just kind of basically whatever they do get pushed out on Twitter or X is when we find out about them at the moment. This could just be some sort of remake that nobody was expecting. I don't know, it could be like any other Pokemon game like Ranger, Conquest. I mean, I don't know exactly why it would be called P30, but it would be cool to get some sort of, you know, remakes ported over or remade. I just don't see that being a P30 thing. Or could you guys imagine if we did get a collection of remakes, like a collection game with all of the mystery dungeons, all of the Ranger games, you know, Pokemon Conquest, all the Rumble games or something? Like that would be something very, very unique. I'd be 100% down for that. Let me know your favorite Pokemon spinoff. We have a lot, and of course Pokopia is the newest one, and it's fantastic. It still has me addicted. I'm still just playing that game all the time. I feel like that is something that has a real possibility of happening, especially with a year like this year, where it's like Winds and Waves isn't coming out. We don't have anything releasing for the rest of the year that we know of officially, like no official announcements besides the Pokopia DLC and a port / like remake or whatever, or collection of a lot of the Pokemon spin-off games would be pretty easy for them to actually do, and would be one of those good things, just, you know, push out the 30th anniversary, because of the fact that I know in a typical year this just wouldn't make sense. In an average Pokemon year, I would not really be expecting anything for this year, but it's the 30th anniversary and they promised us basically year-round stuff, and I know that entails more than just the games. That could entail TCG, you know, the anime, literally everything, but none of that could exist without the games. And I'm sure a lot of you guys, including myself, were kind of assuming, yeah, they do more as far as the games go within this year. And that's why I think this is kind of like an easy thing for them to do, but also kind of a realistic thing for them to do. Another thing I was thinking, maybe this game isn't just one Pokemon game at all. Maybe it's quite literally just a branch, like Pokemon Project 30 as like a folder. You know, think of a folder on your computer where you open it up and then there's a ton of things within that folder. So maybe Project 30 is basically their entire plans for the 30th anniversary, as far as Fire Red Leaf Green, Pokopia DLC, maybe some other promotional stuff, maybe other games that we don't know about, could be even stuff with Pokemon Home, you know, Pokemon Gale of Darkness on the GameCube, Pokemon Coliseum even. It could entail everything for this year. To debunk my own idea, apparently Omari is overseeing this, so it wouldn't really make sense for Omari to be, I guess, overseeing all of these things. So it does kind of sound like it is one game, like it is one very specific thing. All I know is that Omari is associated with big Pokemon projects. He doesn't really seem to be associated with the smaller kind of things, you know, arcade merchandise stuff. So that doesn't confirm that this Project P30 is going to be something huge, but it really does kind of make you wonder, you know what I mean? Like, it makes you think that this has to be something way more significant than Pokemon Spot that ended up being some sort of arcade game. So even though this Pokemon Spot game wasn't anything crazy, it may have, in a way, accidentally revealed that there is another big Pokemon project that is still in existence, that is still being worked on. So if Project 30 really does stand for Project 30, or, you know, Pokemon 30th anniversary, whatever, we could really be seeing Game Freak drop a real final surprise for this 30th anniversary. And another thing I want to talk about is Nintendo, they've been getting leaks all over the place. All their stuff isn't getting leaked, Pokemon stuff is getting leaked, so obviously they don't like that, right? And it does seem like internally, maybe they are lying about some stuff, or like just doing things out of the box that weren't originally planned just to trick people. So the fact that we are probably not going to be getting a Pokemon Presents this year could actually change. Like Pokemon, Nintendo could totally just randomly decide otherwise and give us a Pokemon Presents where they do announce this Project P30, or they do announce, I don't know, something else dropping this year. I just know for me personally, I think the thing that would make the most sense for a big Project 30 with Omari overseeing it would be some sort of classic game or classic collection, whether it just be one game, multiple games, and if it is P30, it's gotta be dropping this year for the 30th anniversary. So I will keep you guys updated as soon as we find out more about this, and I really hope we do find out more about this, because it seems very interesting, especially, not to sound way too repetitive, but Omari is apparently overseeing it. So I just want to know your thoughts. I want to know all of your theories. Like, what do you think this Project P30 could be? And I want to reiterate, like, this does not 100% mean there's going to be something massive with this P30, but it does seem like it's going to be something important. So with that being said, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are real and watching this far in the video, comment down below castle, just the word castle. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.